The corruption of Heracles, the master turning into the Lancer, and Francesca summoning herself. I'm sorry, that last bit got me. Like, the moment she's like, oh, me, right there, and oh, yeah, let's do this. I'm Francesca, you're Francesca, me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is... I get makes sense, the idea that she's technically died a bunch of times and apparently not died. I don't really know exactly how that works quite yet, but... Okay, like I said before, this is what I love about this series so far, is just taking everything and just breaking it left and right, and I'm on board. I'm on absolute board. But yes, we have a lot to cover in this episode. I pretty much laid out right there exactly what we're going to cover, but I'm going to hit each one of the characters one by one. First things first, I want to talk about Francesca. I want to talk about the whole bit with Francesca. Obviously, the fact that she's working with Faldius, or at least the state itself, and apparently the agency has apparently killed her multiple times in the past, and she's still working with them. I like how Faldius is like, why are you still working with these people? If they've killed you in the past, was it twice? If they've killed you in the past, why are you still working with them? I don't care. Like, that's really, it seems like her mentality there. I mean, I got a sense from her over the last, 4 or 5 episodes, this chick just doesn't care. Like, she just wants to be amused, and I think that's sort of going with this idea of potentially her being somebody that's immortal, somebody that can't die, that she just likes to see things break. She likes to see things mess up. She just wants to see people suffer and just have fun with it. I was like, after talking with Faldius, she's like, this guy needs to stop taking this so seriously. This is so cool. Look at all these heroic spirits that are here. They're all fighting each other. Note right there, I think it was already technically showing Sigma. I think it was already showing Sigma on the wall, if I remember correctly. But anyways, she's seeing all these servants. She's like, let's have fun. Let's have fun with this. But yeah, doesn't seem to care about the fact that they've tried to kill her or have killed her in the past. Lays out a few people that have actually, bested her, including a Scar Red, which apparently is somebody working for that. I'm not familiar who that is. I'm not sure if that's another character from a series that I have not actually watched, or maybe it's potentially somebody that's going to eventually pop up in this series. But it seems like outside of actual humor, it does seem like she kind of wants to break the fabrics of, I guess, magecraft, or at least the laws and realities of the world itself. You first mentioned the idea of her being interested in eternal youth, and she says that she wants to drag down the third magic to magecraft levels. Now, I think from a quick search, third magic apparently has something to do with Heaven's Fill, that movie, that series, and I sadly have not watched, I think, the third or maybe the second and the third of those movies, so I'm not entirely 100% sure about that, but apparently it's all involved in that storyline. Maybe I need to watch that movie here in the next couple weeks or something like that, if it ends up being even important to the story. But that's what she wants to do, bring that down to magecraft levels, which I'm assuming that level of magic is insanely powerful. That's the whole point here. We get the basic gist here. But she says that she doesn't want magic to define the limitations of humans. And she also believes nature of humans is foolishness to face that threshold. So again, I think that her whole goal here is just for humor, but also to basically break the laws of magecraft and how it sort of restricts mankind. She just, again, I think she just wants to see things break. I think she just wants to see things break and be entertained by it. But anyways, yeah, that kind of wraps up their conversation with the idea that, yeah, they're not really trusting each other. She's telling him not to trust her because, hey, we're supposed to be enemies on this war. And again, she just wants to have fun. Let's battle it out. I mean, she even said that to Sigma at some point. Like, don't tell me what servant you get. Let's have fun. Let's beat each other up. If you want to come after me, come after me. Like, she doesn't want allies. She literally is working with these individuals. Basically, it seems like she's being forced by the agency, but she doesn't want allies. She wants to fight them all. Let's not be allies. Let's beat each other up. It's so dorky. But yeah, the whole scene with her after she stops talking to Faldius. Again, talk about the fact that he shouldn't take it so seriously. And again, the appearance of another Francesca, a very more boyish, it's different bodies that she's actually come across. Again, when she got killed last time by Scar Red, apparently she came into this body. And what I'm assuming they're implying here is that may have potentially been the body that Scar Red killed. Because again, I'm assuming that Scar Red's not like somebody that has been around for a long time. Could be. But I'm assuming that body that she ended up summoning, which is in front of her now in this room, the one that, went to go see Sigma, was her previous body because it was there to talk to Sigma. And the summoning wouldn't have happened at that point. I mean, it could have, but I'm assuming that whole scene with, them first meeting Sigma was further in the past. He still looks like a boy because, again, they mentioned that they screwed up his body. That aside, yes, this other Francesca just popping up out of nowhere and mentioning the fact that they went to the battlefield and she's all jealous because they got to see the, King of Heroes upset and wanted to see it for herself. And then them talking about, going through with this entire war and wanting to win it. Just kidding. What I don't even know what that means. Let's put our souls on the line and win the Grail War. Just kidding. I'm assuming that she doesn't care about the Grail, obviously. I mean, there could be an aspect of winning the Grail and then using that in order to, again, like she said earlier, break magecraft, let it not define mankind. Again, break the rules, break the boundaries they have. But it kind of gives a sense that she doesn't really care about winning the Grail War. She just wants to blow things up. She chose chaos. Which is making me really like her character. She's absolutely crazy. I'm loving it. But yeah, there's all those little shots in there, of course. The animators like Francesca. Obviously, they really like her character. Just constantly just like rolling over on the bed and stuff like that. Just the most opportune shots for her. She's crazy. But yeah, outside of Francesca and that madness, we did have a whole segment with Sigma. Seeing Sigma's past and how he was, again, met by what seems like Francesca potentially before it became a servant itself. But meeting him, apparently killing every single person that raised him, seemingly a child soldier, their body itself being manipulated so much that they never grow older, or at least their body doesn't. But it does seem like, based on what Francesca says, he won't live much longer. They've altered his body and messed with him so much, and that's probably going to lead to the fact that he's going to die soon. But anyways, yes, they're apparently brainwashing them and manipulating their bodies, and it seems like the spellcasters that has raised him and brainwashed him, they're all dead. I would assume that Francesca probably killed them, or at least came across that battlefield and seen that everybody's dead and says, hey, boy, come with me. And it seems like, based on a conversation later on, why Francesca chose Sigma specifically is because they are somebody that has nothing. Somebody that is raised to be on the battlefield and just constantly seek out to gain their mother back is not going to have really anything to go by. It seems like his only interest is sleeping and eating. Those are the only two foundational things that you actually need. But yes, we see the scene where Faldius sends Sigma off to do his summoning, and again, mentions to Francesca, I know you had somebody special, but I didn't think it would be this boy. His body is messed up so much that he can't even grow older. She says that he's not going to live much longer and doesn't desire for anything. And she didn't prepare a catalyst for him because she wondered what servant a fake Holy Grail would choose for someone who had nothing. Basically forcing the Holy Grail to enter a plain state. I'm not sure what the plain state means. I mean, yes, technically it's all like responding to the desires of the individual. Like these heroes from the past, these spirits are being summoned with a desire. They need something. And they technically mentioned later on the idea of how all these individuals that don't have desires, that don't normally answer the call for the Holy Grail, are now like getting mixed up in this stuff. Typically, when they're summoned, they have something they want. So they're seeking to get the Holy Grail in order to answer that wish. I mean, that's sort of the whole thing. That's sort of the oddity about Richard. He even mentioned that. He doesn't have anything that he wants. He's just there. So he doesn't necessarily want to step on the wishes and desires of other people. That's the same thing that's happening here. And I'm wondering if that's what that whole plain state is. We're having a lot of individuals being wrapped up in this particular war who don't even care about the actual Grail. Sigma himself doesn't care. But yeah, we get to the whole summoning, and Sigma ends up summoning what seems to be Watcher. This individual, this being that is essentially just observing things. And they state specifically that they want Sigma to become a Lancer that pierced through it all. So again, not only are we having just the oddest things being summoned or them summoning themselves, we also have Sigma apparently is going to be turned into a Lancer. Which I kind of thought that was going to be the case, or at least he's going to be a really strong fighter based on the OP and what we've actually seen of Sigma so far. He seems like he's very talented. He seems like he's altered in some way by these spellcasters, so I wouldn't doubt that he has the potential of doing something. And I'm wondering if that's going to be a case where, again, because he has all these really strong people that are surrounding him and, changing forms, the shadow of the Watcher, I'm wondering if they're going to end up being his shadow. They're going to work behind him to give him different abilities or strengths. They say that the Watcher is a guardian whose job is to always look down on us from a high place. I'm not familiar with what that thing is. To be truthful, I have no clue what that thing is, and that's probably for a purpose. Maybe it's Moby Dick. Sigma does question if perchance they are an extra class, but they said they were slightly different from the extra class folks, which right here it's kind of specifying they have a clue as to what an extra class is, which is interesting. But they say that he's supposed to be the Lancer, and the Watcher is supposed to be a barrier and a watchtower for that to happen. So I'm assuming that it's going to, with the ability to see everybody and know where everybody's at, know when they're going to come. I mean, they even notice when Assassin's coming there. Assassin of all, classes, they know when she's coming. So I'm guessing he's going to give him sort of an overhead view and always give him insight as to what's happening and potentially foresight for him to fight. And here, right here, they mention the fact that, yes, it seems like overall this entire Holy Grail War is messed up. It's botched at this point. Normally, those who would not be summoned are calling for each other. More will be drawn to this land. That's an interesting statement right there, because it's also potentially hinting that not just the 7 they have now, plus the 6 that were before then from the fake, that potentially more beyond that might actually show up. That's what I'm getting from that statement, because I think we've, at this point, seen everybody pop up. We have what I'm assuming is the Mr. Ghost, which could be Ryder. We have Archer, which is Alcaides. We have, I think it's Castor is what Francesca is. We have Ryder, which is Hippolyta. I'm assuming Faldius has the Assassin. Watcher, what would Watcher be? We're assuming that Saber is Richard. Watcher would be Lancer. If they want Sigma to be Lancer, I'm assuming that Watcher is Lancer, but that's everybody. Yeah. So I think we have everybody from the second batch, ? So potentially after this point, we could have more stuff showing up. Now, they could be talking about Richard because, again, Richard is able to call others. But I don't think so. I think they're specifying here that they could potentially have more. Like this, they've opened up something they're not supposed to open up, and more stuff's going to start leaking through. Again, I put nothing past this Holy Grail War. Anyways, yes, they're hoping that he'll be able to overcome this and find himself, basically. And at that point, we have the Assassin shows up. Assassin shows up, asks him if he's going after the Grail, and he says that he wants to talk to her master, which seems to tick her off. Don't bring up her master. She doesn't like her master. But yes, as he's fleeing, he ends up running into Ayaka. For some reason, Ayaka's there. Like, what is like randomly Ayaka's here? She was at the underground club. Now suddenly she's here? ? I don't know why. But interesting, the Watcher tells him, no, that's not a master. It's a poor girl who got roped into the Grail War. So they know that Ayaka's not a master. Now, again, they're the observer and they're watching everything, and they could have watched Ayaka and seen that she doesn't want to have anything to do with this. But my assumption is that it knows that she's a proxy, to go to my theory that she's not the actual master, and by killing her is not going to change anything. I think they're using her as a proxy for the actual master that's feeding their magic through her to Richard. So it seems like the Watcher knows that. Very interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, Richard shows up, stops Assassin, and that's where they cut it off. That's where they cut it off. We got like a little brief moment of, hey, something's going to happen, some fighting's going to happen. And of course, the last perspective we get is Cordelion and how he ends up corrupting Alcaides. I was actually curious because when it cut over here, I'm like, okay, I would assume this is in the past. Of course, it's in the past. But I wasn't really sure if this would be another master. And I'm like, holy crap, are we going to have like the true virtuous Heracles versus Alcaides? Are we going to have the two of them? Oh, no, this is where we see how he turns from that to that. I thought for a minute there we're going to have two Heracles fighting each other, but no. But yes, we get to see Cordelion and how he's a part of this mob boss family, and they have a lot of enemies. Eventually, he gets called to go summon his servant, and of course, he summons Heracles, and at that point, utilizes a lot of things in order to overcome him, beat him down, essentially, with command spells, and force him to corrupt himself. And the fact that, yes, after summoning him, he asks him, hey, are you willing, in order to achieve victory, kill a child? He's like, you know who I am, and yet you still ask that question? Are you wanting to forfeit your life? It's like, you're asking me if I want to kill a kid? Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. But yes, he ends up using his command spells. The first one, to drop his facade, which again, I guess would be the idea of stop acting like some chivalrous person. You have something deep inside of you. The second command, to remember all the humans that you've observed until now, which I guess would be the idea of seeing the nastier side of human beings. The things that you don't want to remember, the things that you want to overlook, the things you want to forget, the nastiness of humankind. And of course, the last one, to accept the true nature of humans, which again, that they're nasty. There's nasty sides of human beings, which ends up seemingly corrupting him to the point where he now wants revenge. Very interesting that he was able to brute force that, though. And again, I can see that being the fact that he's, of course, utilizing the power that he is, pulling from this big system they've created. But additionally, it kind of implies the fact that, yes, Francesca has brought something from Fuyuki, which would be like the mud from the Holy Grail, to, I guess, empower him. Now, it could just be using that to give Alkaidas power, but I think he was actually utilizing that in his command spells. He did have a lot of power. But yeah, Alkaidas does ask him eventually where he gets his power from, which apparently is the system created by Atrum Galista, basically turning humans into batteries. basically utilizing technology from Matrix in order to power himself with Magecraft. Apparently at this point, sacrificing 25,000 people. This family, the Scradio family, has a lot of enemies if he has so far that many corpses to work with. I don't know. It's like every single fate, every single one of them has to have somebody that is sacrificing thousands of people. It's typically the casters. It's usually the casters that doing it, but apparently in this one, it's the Archer's Master. Both Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night had, like, sacrifices going on. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole birth of Alkaidas and his corruption using just brute force and command skills. That's pretty much the episode. Other than that, we had a little bit brief shot of Tsubaki. I was wondering when we were eventually going to have Tsubaki. Like, they keep showing her parents and her in bed, and then suddenly, okay, apparently we're going to talk to her about her now. It seems like her parents has not seen her in 2 days, or at least come to see her in 2 days. And apparently in a dream state, she is seeing what she calls Mr. Ghost. And it seems to imply that this ghost is reacting to everything that she says. So whatever desire that she has, it's seemingly just answering them. She likes birds, so it's just bringing her birds. And she doesn't want anybody else to die or disappear anymore. And it seems to imply, based on the perspective from Flat, that I think it's consuming the city. And this could be one of those things where it's consuming the city in order to turn everybody into zombies, ? Because it showed like a bunch of animals and they had like some sort of plague on them. And I'm kind of wondering if they're all actually dead and their bodies are decaying. And this fog potentially could be from this ghost, and it's consuming the city in order for people not to be able to die. I'm wondering if that's the direction it's going to go there, that she's essentially, without knowing it, killing everybody in the city while she's sleeping, and this ghost is just answering her prayers. But yeah, Flat, we did see very briefly, Jack is talking up Lord El Melway and how clever he is and how smart he is and how he's using his past experience in the Grail War to his advantage. And that's pretty much the episode. Very interesting episode. Again, a lot around Francesca summoning herself and her desires to break things. The whole bit about the corruption of Alkaidas. And again, Sigma the Lancer class. Sigma the Lancer class. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the episode. Another great episode. Looking forward to more. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. As usual, if you are a source material reader, I don't answer to any speculation that I made in this video. It's all for fun. It's just, enjoy the stupid things I come up with. That's why I tell people whenever I do like crazy theories, just enjoy the stupidity of the things I come up with. That's always the fun part about this whole thing. But I hope you guys enjoy either way. But until next time, y'all take care.